Hello everyone, welcome to the United Stand. This is your Thursday fix of everything hot topic on United, and debating that with me tonight we have a panel of Kev, Beth and Levin. How are you guys doing? You got over the other night yet?
I'm just kind of erasing from my memory.
Yeah, the long silence there straight after that, dropping me in it. Cheers guys. That's kind of said it all, but I mean we have to move on. Ollie's trying to move on. The topic of tonight's video is the scrutiny, really, that he's come under. He's trying to defend his tactics. We're going to discuss his tactics because the press conference today, he was questioned. The whole fan base was going into it, especially after that horror show that was Tuesday night. So everybody watched the fan forum with us on there giving our opinions. It's not easy straight after the game. We just spoke about that before. I mean, straight after the game, we've had time to dissect now, but getting into the press conference, we might as well start there. I mean, if you haven't watched Levin's video earlier on, guys, drop down into the channel info there. It's there talking about all his presser and all the main details from it. But I want to bring out something from it tactics-wise, because straight away, tactics came up, Beth, in terms of Lingard coming on. His in-game tactics, his substitutions, and that obviously brought up the topic of Jesse Lingard. Talk now about a new contract. He's trying to big Jesse Lingard up, looking like he's going to be getting a new deal. Apparently it's close, Beth, but that was one of the reasons last night he came under so much pressure, Ollie, and he was really questioned on his substitutions, I would say, more than anything else after it. We had time to breathe and take it all in, but it doesn't get any better when you dissect it even more, Beth, when you look at it in more detail.
No, it doesn't, especially when he gets asked about it and he kind of refuses to talk about it. And to be honest, when I was watching it, he kind of seemed like he didn't really have any explanation, which is a little bit like worrying, because he was asked about his tactics and he was like, oh, football's a simple game, basically saying, I don't really have them. Like, I just tell the players to go out there and play. Obviously, there is some tactics behind it, but the only problem is we really struggle to see them sometimes, unless it's against a team that we're allowed to play counter-attack football against. When we're playing against a team that doesn't allow us to do counter-attack football, we don't see them tactics, and we didn't see them when we're playing young boys. And when on the Jesse Lingard subject, for me personally, I think Jesse's getting game time, so he signs a new contract. I mean, he came out and said like his contract will decide on whether he thinks he's part of the team or whatever. And I think Solskjaer's now playing him just so he signs a new contract, just so if they do sell him, they can get some money for him. And for me, that's the wrong reason why you should be playing a player. You should be playing a player because he's part of your plans. He fits into the tactics and you want him to play in that game, not because you're trying to get him to sign a new deal. So I don't know, with Ollie in his presses, it's hard to grasp on it, because I think a lot of what he says is just like PR, massive PR. So you never really get to know the real reason. He comes out and he always bigs every player up. And I do like that to a certain extent. You don't want a manager that's going to come out and kind of go in on all of his players. But I just thought with the Jesse Lingard thing, to me, it just looks like I'm giving Jesse time and I'm bigging him up because we want him to sign a new deal so he doesn't leave for free. And then on the tactics front, like, we didn't really get any explanation, so we're still all a little bit in the dark.
That's it. I mean, Kev, we spoke plenty of times about why Jesse should be looking to move and whatnot. It looks like right now, between him and Martial, because that's 2 games in a row where Lingard's been subbed on before Martial now. It kind of goes with what Beth's saying there, in that he's just playing him to make him sign a contract, which would be wrong, for one. But out of these 2, mate, now, honestly, these look like, in terms of Martial and Lingard, as the 2 players that the future is really uncertain. And the fact that Lingard, who is refusing to sign a contract, apparently, from what his agent was saying, until he gets reassurances on his game time, he's getting more game time than Martial, who's, I don't know, mate. I don't know if he is doing something wrong in training, but Lingard ahead of him 2 games in a row, that for me concerns me. It really does, Kev, because I would say Martial would have been more suited to both appearances that Lingard's made off the bench. Yeah, the game was probably over against Newcastle, but that game against young boys, surely someone who's going to hold the ball up and have a bit more about them and pace would have been Martial, wouldn't it, mate? I can't understand why all of a sudden Jesse is flavour of the month. Is it like Beth says, simply because we're trying to make him sign a deal and possibly get money out of it?
Wouldn't be the first time, mate. And let's not beat around the bush. If we're all sitting here and saying who would you rather have in your team, Martial or Lingard, would anyone actually say Lingard? Just out of interest, out of the panel, because
tell you, Ricky wouldn't.
Well, yeah, Martial. Listen, everybody will moan about consistency and stuff like that, but if you're not getting a run in the team, it's the same with Donny van der Beek. You know, we've all been on about it. What can he do? Well, we don't know what he can do because he's not in the team. Now, this, to a certain extent, will work for Martial as well, but I would choose Martial over Lingard any day of the week. Now, it goes back to a thing I said the other week about these false promises that Solskjaer almost seems to be saying to all these players. How do you keep them happy? I said it's going to be a major headache this season to try to keep these players happy. And on deadline day, I think me and you, Adam, discussed, and we said Lingard gets nowhere near this team. You know, he's brought in Jadon Sancho. He's not going to be sat on the bench. We've got Rashford, who should be back shortly. Martial, there's players, Greenwood. You know, we're blessed with this array of attacking talent. And for me, I think Beth's 100% right. It's almost like if we can get him into the team now, he might sign this contract, and then long-term, United might get something for him. And if we're going down that route and that's the way they want to play it, then nothing's changed at Manchester United. Don't forget, this is a club that gives Phil Jones a 5-year contract when he's done absolute all at Manchester United. And, you know, that's the way United look at it. It's to safeguard getting something for him, when in reality, what are you going to get for Phil Jones? A Canalil, a Mars bar, and that might be pushing it. You know, you are not getting anything for Phil Jones because you've seen nothing of him to suggest that in this market he's worth anything near what Manchester United paid for him.
You'd have to pay someone off to get rid of him.
Oh, yeah, I agree with that. I do think there's going to be some form of special deal to get Jones out the door anyway, especially. But Levin, mate, you dissected the press conference in full there. I mean, all is great about talking players up, mate, but it's like when questioned about the hard facts about nothing really changing in midfield, who is he picking as his main strike force? How does he go? I'm surprised it's not been brought up a lot. With Ronaldo in the team, he can't play the same way. With that midfield, he has to make the right combination work to play someone like Ronaldo. But when asked these questions, does he fill you with confidence in terms of how he's answering it? It seems to me like it's always a sidestep, mate. There's always a deflection somewhere and someone else is coming back in training. It sort of gets switched very quickly with him. For me, I don't like listening to him personally. I really don't like listening to him. Proof is in the pudding for me. I like to see what happens on the pitch. And for me, I'm sort of getting tired of the way he's trying to talk up players rather than get into what's actually going wrong, mate. I mean, how do you see it, Levin? Does he fill you with any confidence at all?
Was muted there for a second. Yes, I'm not muted anyway. You can hear me. I see where you're coming from, Adam, because I think, you know, you look at it and we've seen managers who can maybe be a bit too honest and that can cause issues, right? But I really do feel like with Oli, it's like he's almost just not honest at all. Like he's never really telling us the truth or the extent at what he actually feels. And fans sort of cling on to that and that pisses people off, right? Like you said, you don't like listening to him because you sort of know that he's just going to sweet talk or say whatever he needs to say to look good. And like, even something as simple with Lingard, right? I'm not saying he should come out and, you know, say, well, Lingard was awful, blah, blah, blah. But you look at Saul last week for Chelsea, played horribly. Tuchel subbed him off at half time. And at the end of the game, Tuchel said, look, you know, he had a bit of a rough start. It wasn't great. But that falls on me. I made that decision, right? Like, you know, I made the decision to play him. I thought he was ready after training, but it didn't work out. We'll move on now. He will learn from it. If Oli had just said something along the lines of, look, you know, I made that decision to put Lingard on. Of course, you know, that falls on me. That's my responsibility. You know, we'll work with Jesse and, you know, he's going to bounce back. He's a tough lad. He'll get better. Like, but he's not really saying that. Do you know what I mean? Like, he doesn't do that, right? And it also links to what you guys are talking about, where it's like the contract thing. It's almost like, yeah, he's trying to big him up, make him feel good so that he is happy and he does sign the contract. Like, personally, I don't care for that. I do want my managers to be honest. I want my managers to give me insight. And Adam, I don't know about you, but I've seen people criticize the people who are frustrated by the press conference going, oh, he's never going to say his tactics, though, is he? But come on, man. That's just not the case. You look at the top managers, they talk about these things because, you know, ultimately, you know, if Oli goes out and says something, realistically, it's not gonna stop us from being able to win games now that a team knows how we want to play football. Like they will already know that they'll be watching us, right? So yeah, I'd like him to be a bit more honest moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, you listened to the press conference, Levin, mate. I mean, did he touch on anything in terms of tactics at all? I mean, was there any sort of inkling, or did he go in the direction of saying we are working on certain things? Because I just don't hear it, mate. Unless I'm missing bits of the interview, I'm just seeing deflection all the time, mate. I want to hear, like, we are working on a certain way of doing things. We're looking at doing this and changing this up. But it's the same old stuff every time, mate. And that's what fills us fans with, well, it don't give us any confidence. Never mind filling us up. We got absolutely nothing.
Yeah. And you know, I'll keep it brief on this, but the one thing I'll say about that is, you know, Carl Anker, who asked a brilliant question that has sort of sparked all of this conversation. In the past, he's written pieces about how he almost feels like Oli very much, you know, wants to bring back the old days of, like, you know, like Tevez, Ronaldo, Rooney, all like interchanging that style of play. And the way he described the midfielders, right, is very much almost in that mindset where I think he actually referenced Scholes. Am I back? Somebody in chat will remember. I think he actually referenced like Scholes and Keane, and like one goes forward, one stays back, and it's like, no disrespect. I'm not even trying to like pile on to any sort of negativity or anything, but genuinely, it does just seem like he's very stuck in a mindset of old, right? Like he wants it to be like the old days. Like he wants Greenwood, Rashford, and Martial and Ronaldo to be like Tevez, Ronaldo, Rooney back in the day. He wants Fred and McTominay to be like, you know, Keane and Scholes back in the day. Like he wants it all to be like how it was when it was good. And the game's evolved since then. He can't do that. And some of those players just aren't at the level of the ones of before.
And that was the thing. You think of like Jose Mourinho at Manchester United. It didn't end well with him. But to a certain extent, in a press conference, you ask him a question about tactics, about the way the game's played, at least he would openly come out and give you some idea of, you know, his ideas on what he actually wanted to do. Again, it didn't end well for him. But Mourinho, you know, compared to Solskjaer, tactically and that, it's just a different planets altogether. Yeah,
that's it. I mean, I can see the concern in the chat. I did my match vlog the other day, and I seen like 500 comments, and 99% of them were going in on Oli as if like major concern. I mean, Robin there with a super chat, Beth says, you can't win trophies without clear tactics. Even with top players, class players look lost under Oli. So we can support the club and not the manager. He's asking the question. This is where the fan base is. A lot of people are asking serious questions now because his time's up, Beth, really, in terms of getting it right.
The weird thing is with Oli, like, I want it to work so much. Like, I do want him to succeed, but it's the time's moving on. And I think he's done, let me get it straight, I think he's done a great job to get us to where we are. I think we're the best that we've been since Fergie retired, 100%. I think he's the best manager we've had post-Fergie, and I think he's built a very, very good team. I'm just starting to question whether he can take it to the next level. I just don't know if he has got the tactical now to win us a title or to win us a trophy. We've had these semi-finals, we've had these finals where we've completely thrown it away, and the players or the mentality or the manager's tactics have kind of lost us in really, really important games, and people have questioned, is this a big game manager? Is this a manager that can win us things? And people have said, well, he's been learning on the job. I mean, he is like a new manager to these kind of games, and we need to allow him to grow. But there's only so much time you can give someone when they've got this amount of talent in a team. And I said it at the start of the season, and I stick by it. I really do think this season is make or break for Oli. I think he needs to win something, and I think he needs to prove he has improved and he can win the games that he used to struggle winning, and that he can change a game while it's being played. That's one thing I really, really doubt about Oli. And after Young Boys, I've still got that doubt in my mind, is I think he's not a great manager reading a game and where it's going. I think he's very, very stubborn and he doesn't like to change his tactic. Sometimes that can pay off, like we've seen us come back after half time and we do win the game. But in big games, sometimes you really do need that plan B, and he doesn't seem to change it that often. And I think that's where he will kind of let himself down. I also think his favouritism towards players will let himself down on an occasion, because a great manager doesn't have favouritism with his players. He can take players and see what job they can do, tell them to stick to the job, and that's how it works. And he can tell which players suit different games. I feel like Ollie's got players in his head that he prefers, so he sticks to them. So honestly, I'm just not sure where he's going with this team. I'm not sure if he's going to go and win us something, or I'm not sure if he's done just really well to get us to this point and then we need someone new to come in. But this season is where it's going to be the decider, because with the amount of talent you've got in this team, you've got Ronaldo now, a serial winner. If you're not getting through to high stages in the Champions League, trying to win a trophy this season, whether that is the Carabao Cup or even the FA Cup, and challenging for the title with that team, I know it's a very strong league, but it's not good enough. It isn't with that team, because another top manager like Tuchel or Pep would be able to do it, and that is just a fact. Like when Pep was bollocking Mahrez and bollocking Grealish, I mean, I'm not saying every manager has to have that style, but I just could never see Ollie turning around to Bruno or turning around to Ronaldo and telling them exactly what they need to do. And I think you could see that when Ronaldo and Bruno were getting off the seats and they were in the manager's area telling the team. To me, I mean, some people would say they're just encouraging the team, but if I was a manager, that I would deem that as a little bit disrespectful. And I think the only reason they do that is because they know that they can with Ollie. And I just think he needs to be a little bit more ruthless. He needs to be able to change a game while it's being played, and he needs to drop his favouritism with certain players as well, and his stubbornness.
Yeah, I mean, cheers for that super chat, Robin. You can feel the passion there. I mean, Michael Fetty's echoing exactly what Beth just said there, Kev. He said, can't keep saying he's learning on the job. He just isn't changing tactics. We all sit here and know how to change it, but he doesn't, mate. I mean, we're shouting at it all the time, Kev, aren't we? We can't say now he's inexperienced. He's been at the biggest club in the world managing for 3 years, mate. When do you call it enough? I mean, the fans are seeing it, mate. The fans are seeing it. Kev, it's now or never this season, mate. But I just don't see how the right manager, like Beth said, can't make these players work. And we're all hoping and we all want him to do it, Kev. We really do. Yeah. And we will. And we've all said we will give him this season. He has got this season to make this work. We're not saying it's all over right now, but that warning sign on Tuesday night, Kev, that hit home, and that hit home hard with loads of fans. I seen it in all my comments. The fan forum it showed it. There's the concern, because that's what's happened the last 2 years, Kev.
Listen, positivity-wise, I would say this is the best Manchester United squad post Sir Alex Ferguson, without a shadow of a doubt. But like Beth said, and Solskjaer has come out himself and said this, that it was always a 3-year plan. It was 3 years, build your squad, which is fair enough. You get the players in you need to. And then this season, which he's on about now, is the one where you have to compete. Now, last season finishing second, this isn't like when Mourinho said that his biggest achievement was finishing second with that group of players, which was pretty impressive when you look at the squad that he had. Solskjaer couldn't get away with it, that this season, with that squad of players now and the way that he's been backed, to finish second, third, and then say that what progression this season is to be challenging and right up there, not finishing 554 points behind Manchester City, like last season, where it doesn't matter that we finished second. We didn't take it to the final day. We were never really in that race. After Christmas, it was pretty embarrassing. We dropped off. We were well out of it. But we were kind of knocking around at that Christmas time. It was like, can we, can't we? He's got the tools to do the job now. He cannot complain about anything. As fans, we will all sit here, and the four of us will probably agree that we should have signed a central defensive midfielder. Now, whether that's the club that stopped him doing that or whether it's Solskjaer, it's happened now. The earliest he can do that is January or next season. It could be too late. You live and die by the decisions that you make. And if Solskjaer, if United are not successful this season, he knows that as well. it just simply can't go on. And the game the other night, listen, you can go, right, listen, we write it off. It was a bad night at the office. And listen, it was bad. Because even the team that he put out, it should have been good enough to beat him. We can argue that, listen, you know, Solskjaer didn't ask Wan-Bissaka to get sent off. He didn't ask Jesse Lingard to play in, you know, their player in the 95th minute to score a goal. So it's fine lines in that sense. But I totally agree with everything everyone's saying about that game the other night, was the fact of even when we went down to 10 men, to make that change, Dalot comes on, you've still got that kind of cohesion, bit of shape to you, and you still felt we could actually get a goal. But it never happened. It was almost like, let's sit back and, you know, it's young boys. Go for it, man. Absolutely go for it. And I think that's, as United fans sometimes, we're a bit like, really? You know, and we're going back to the days of David Moyes, Louis van Gaal, Mourinho, and it's like, you know, and, you know, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, he's played for Manchester United. He's played under Sir Alex Ferguson, surely. And he's told us loads of times about the Manchester United way and that. He must know more than anyone what it's all about to play for United. He's told us himself.
I look at the whole bench. You could add Carrick and Phelan to that playing under Fergie. But, Levin, I've got a question for you, mate. Bear, Frank, Kev both touched on it there. It is, and I agree, the best squad we've had since Sir Alex Ferguson. I would say it's better than the squad Ferguson won the league with last time. I think it's that strong. I really do. But all the players are coming out. Yeah, Ollie's this. We all love Ollie. We love this. The training ground. But I don't really give a toss about what happens on the training ground, Levin, mate. And is there a case here that the players are too comfortable? And when they go out on the pitch, there's no real pressure because, like what Beth said there, he's not rollicking a player.
What?
He's not going in and absolutely drilling these players for mistakes because they were coming back out the week after having played bad the week before, mate. Is there a case that there's a bit of a soft mentality on the training ground and behind the scenes in the club? Could that be said for this?
That's an interesting one. I don't know. Is the honest answer, right? Like I don't know.
If we don't win this year, could you say? If we don't win anything this year, could you say, right, something's going on behind the scenes here? There's too much quality for it not to happen.
Yeah, but I feel like we already know that, Adam, to a degree, right? Where, you know, you look at the way we play, and that's another thing, right? You know, I'm not ever someone who gets very hysteric or anything. Like, you know, if you know me, I try and always stay as calm and level-headed as I can, even when you have awful performances like the one we just saw. But I very much understand people that get frustrated because it's, you know, sometimes it's not about losing, it's how you lose, right? It's like Arsenal fans when they lost the 2 games against City and Chelsea. They're always going to lose those games, but it wasn't about them losing, it was about how they lost their side. There was just no competition whatsoever. You know, us losing that game with 10 men down, it's like you can see that in a world, but when you look at how we lost, that's where the frustration is. When you look at a lot of these bad results we have, you know, you go back to the European final and all these things, it's about how we're failing. And that's what frustrates people because, you know, if in that like European final game, you know, we scored 4 goals and, you know, Villarreal scored like 5 wonder long shots or something, then it's different, right? You know, as much as you're frustrated, it's like, no, we were probably the better team, but it didn't look like that, right? So I think with everything that's gone on, we sort of know that there's something wrong behind the scenes. You know, there has to be. You look at the people who are there. I saw a tweet today of like a list of people and their experience and all these things. And, you know, it does worry you because, like, I look at things tactically, right? I very much expected to see significant change with Ronaldo coming in somehow. I thought, you know, system-wise, something will change. And so for the 2 games you've seen, I've not really noticed anything too different from how we were playing when it was Cavani or how we were playing when it was Martial, right? And so it's like, the people who are in charge of that behind the scenes, is there nothing there, right? And like you said, even last season when it was second half FC, how did that keep happening? I get if that happened 1 or 2 times, but the fact that it kept happening is like, so is nobody behind the scenes going, guys, we can't keep doing that, right? Like, you know, we have to go out and play in the first half. So there's things already that let us know that there's clearly something wrong behind the scenes. We don't know what it is. Whether it's because that players aren't getting enough of a bollocking, I'm not sure. I've seen reports where people have said, look, Ollie does actually give players bollockings here and there, but in public he likes to keep it all, you know, rosy and happy. So, you know, in that sense, I don't know. But all I know is there is something wrong there. Definitely, like there is definitely something wrong. I just hope we figure out before it's too late for us to win something this season.
Yeah, it's like Mark W in there. Cheers for the super chat, guys. As always, I think there's a feeling at the moment, and I think by Christmas, a Poch style league like last season may come out. Club testing the water. I don't know. I do feel like Ollie is here at least till the end of the season. I don't think he's going anywhere. I don't think the club are even going to spend this much money and not give him this season. It's crazy. The squad, we talked about 11 again there, though. He touched on Mctominay coming back. Like, it's going to change things and try and sway it across to that direction of conversation again. Like, players are coming back. It's going to be great when everyone's fit. I see this as a problem, mate. I don't know about you. I'm talking McTominay. I'm talking Rashford coming back. And already the issue he's got with balancing things. Because if I'm Martial right now, I'm getting fed up. If I'm seeing Rashford coming back, knowing that he's Ellie's favourite, then Martial... are we going to end up losing another player? I mean, Levin, mate, McTominay coming back, does it change anything, though? It's still going to be the same system and formation. One man's not going to do that, is it?
Yeah, no, I don't expect to see, with those guys, I think you can look at small moments in games where those two might help more. And like, I definitely have seen, like, the game against Newcastle, there was a point where I was thinking, if Rashford was on the left, he would have done this and that would have been better for us. So yeah, in this minor way they will, but the overarching, themes of our team, throwing it back to the press conference earlier, aren't going to change. They're going to remain the same. And so in many ways, you're probably going to get the same sort of outcomes. Like, I hate to say it, but there doesn't seem to be massive change in terms of the way we play football from this season to last, other than just the personnel in terms of, bringing Ronaldo, bringing Varane. And those guys have helped in certain ways, but I don't think enough has changed for me to be like, yeah, those two coming back, it's enough. Ollie's at the wheel. We're going to go win everything.
I think McTominay does make a difference, to be fair. I actually do. I think
a certain formation or in general, Beth, does it have to be a certain way of playing?
In general, like, I've criticised McTominay in the past, to be fair, because I think he's very inconsistent. He can have a great game and then he can have a very poor game. But the thing, what you get with McTominay is you get someone physical in the middle of the park. You get someone who brings a lot of energy, and I do think he plays that role. I mean, we still need someone to play that role, but I think out of everyone we've got, apart from Matic, but Matic can't play every week, I do think he plays that role the best. That's just my personal opinion. I think in the Europa League final, he really showed what he was about, and I thought he was one of the players that really stepped up and had that mentality for. And I do think he is a big game player. I think he's got massive things he needs to work on. I think his passing isn't great, but he can win a header. He's physical. He gets about the pitch, and he's got a good shot on him. I think he's got ability. I just don't think he's a holding midfielder. I think he is more of like the Pogba player that can be box to box. But I mean, if I'm Ollie and I'm looking at our team now, with all the attacking talent you've got, with Rashford coming back, and I actually do think Rashford would have made a massive difference against young boys, someone who can run in behind when you are trying to grab a goal when you're down to 10 men. I do think we have missed Rashford as well. But with McTominay, I would actually play him now with Pogba in the pivot. Now you've got Varane who shores it up a little bit more at the back. I don't think you can afford to play Pogba higher up the pitch with all the attacking talent you've got, including Martial, Sancho, Greenwood, Rashford, Cavani, Ronaldo. I think he's got to play Pogba in midfield, and he's not going to drop him. And I think the best option you've got to play next to him probably would be Matic, but he what's the point? He can't play every week. There's no longevity in it. So I do think he's going to have to try out McTominay in that role with Pogba. And I've seen it a few times. Sometimes I think it's worked. Sometimes I think it's not. But the only chance it's going to get better is if you give it some time. And I think that's the best option we've got. I think Fred is too boring. It's too basic. It leaves Pogba out of the team. It leaves a good attacking player out of the team. I think Fred and Pogba, I think Fred's too positionally unaware. He kind of gets all over the pitch. He can get beat. He isn't the most physical. We've seen him got shoved off the ball a few times. And then Donny, I think, is a little bit too attacking to play in there with Pogba. And then with Matic, you can only play once a week, if that. So I do think McTominay is your best option. So, and do you know what? I think the midfield's been massively more overrun since we've not had McTominay. And I wasn't the biggest McTominay fan, but I have noticed a difference without him in that team.
Yeah, I mean, Kev, we can all say at least it's a combination we haven't seen yet. McTominay hasn't played with a Varane behind him, so we don't know. It may be worth having a look at, but in all honesty, mate, 5 games in, that midfield's changed 5 times already. Does Ollie even have a clue what his best midfield is? Because this is where it all comes down to. We're talking McTominay up. A lot of the comments didn't agree with what Beth said in terms of McTominay, but I see you've got to give McTominay a chance with the likes of Varane. Maybe he could enhance his game. Maybe he's the one player that works with a Varane style player. I don't know. And none of us know. But it's like if one thing goes wrong with Ollie, Kev, he changes it quickly. He doesn't do what Beth said, like giving certain combinations of players a run of games together. I mean, we've seen McFred. That's probably the longest running midfield we've had under Ollie. I'm watching Ander Herrera play for PSG last night, and I'm thinking, seriously, there's someone in this football club must have noticed that there was a half decent holding midfielder there at least, mate. But going back to McTominay again, I mean, Kev, if he plays well, I'm still not sure if Ollie will play him the week after, mate. This is how clueless I am in trying to think how Ollie's working.
Well, I did claim that when United signed Varane that I thought it would be the end of Fred and McTominay, which it kind of has been to an extent, but McTominay's been out the team because he's injured, and Fred, what can you say? I didn't think he was that bad the other night.
The second half.
Best of a kind of bad bunch, and that is player ratings. We won't even get into that. But, I mean, the worrying thing about Fred is he's a professional footballer, and the other night you've got players like Pogba looking at him and telling him, look up, they're signalling over, and I'm like, this is basic shit, man, And there's players trying to advise him on look up, get your head up, look where you're passing the ball. So it's like, I'll never understand that one. I will never understand Solskjaer's faith in them two as a pairing. I think we've all sort of cried out, why did United buy Donny van der Beek if he's not going to get a chance? But McTominay, he brings something different to Manchester United. A lot of people will say, oh, he's a passion merchant, he's this, that, just because he's come up through the youth team. But for me, that's a massive thing at Manchester United. And Beth's correct in saying he was the only player that properly turned up in the Europa League final and buzzed about, looked like he actually wanted to win it, sort of kind of captain material. We have seen it before in games where, was it Roma that we beat? And it was every goal that went in the celebrations, McTominay, we go again, we want more goals kind of thing. So he's not one of them players that will rest and say, right, let's sit back, let's do this, that. But listen, people have got their opinions about McTominay, and I will see them in the comments section. Again, they'll be using words, passion merchant, can't pass a ball, this, that. Let's see when he gets back, because I don't think he's a bad player at all. I think he's something totally different to what we've got, and it's an area that we're lacking. Matic, legs have gone, hasn't it? You can't rely on Matic. Fred, I think a lot of people are fed up of. So you've got to find the right pairing, I would say, in the middle.
That's the thing. A lot of people disagreed with that McTominay thing. That's fine, because I don't think McTominay is an absolutely top player. But you look at the options we've got. I mean, who else are you going to play next to Pogba? Because Fred can't do it. And then Matic, he just keeps getting older. And not saying it's a bad thing being old, but there is no longevity in it. And then Donny and Pogba won't work together, and Pogba is going to play. So you look at it, what options have you actually got? It's not as if Ollie's sat there picking from Rice, Fabinho and Rodri, is he? And Fernandinho. We've got to pick someone.
That's it. I mean, Levin, mate, one of our members there, Colby, with a super chat, says in a recent interview with Ollie, that Ollie did, he said he doesn't see midfielders as 6, 8s and 10s. He sees them all as midfielders. Going back to the Ollie. Was that today's one? That there for me is Ollie talking and scaring the shit out of me again. I mean, Levin, mate, it's no surprise people are coming away from that press conference feeling worse than they did on Tuesday night, mate. When you come out with comments like that at elite level football, like Colby says there, it's very understandable why people come away going, I don't understand what he's going on about anymore.
Yeah, he needs a bit more self-awareness.
Interviewing, mate.
Yeah, because I just don't know. how he thought he could say that and get away with it. You know, like you know the ones there where it's a bit like, you're probably gonna regret saying that one. When I heard it, I was a bit like, wow, like that it just hit me where I was like, really? Like, is that really how you feel like that? You know, I get the whole idea of, you know, he doesn't want to play too much into narratives that the media creates and things, but that's just like a general like thing of modern football. And it gets back to what I was saying earlier, where he does see it like that. He sees it like the old days where it's like, you know, Keane stays, Scholes goes, Scholes stays, Keane goes. And it's like, that's his mentality, right? That's what he was referring to. I think that's exactly when he referenced those two as well. So, you know, I think he's, as much as it wasn't what we wanted to hear, it was very insightful into like who Ollie is, like, and how he thinks, right? I think that's very much how he thinks. He's very much, you know, sort of stuck in these sort of old ways of thinking. And in many ways, that's going to be his downfall in terms of, you know, the way the fans view him, because people saw that, you know, like a lot of the people in the chat and myself, and thought, I don't know if that's the kind of manager I want, right? Because the game's evolved. You know, the modern top manager isn't like that, where the modern top manager is a lot more self-aware, and they have very, you know, astute opinions on these sort of topics, where Ollie, everything about Ollie, he sort of gives off the thing of like, I'm not too bold about that, man. I just want to win football matches. And it's like, yeah, we want to win football matches as well, but how are you doing it? Let's get into the specifics. And he never wants to get into the specifics. So,
no. And that is crazy, because Solskjaer sort of come into a team that sort of played 4-4-2. Now, no football team plays 4-4-2, really. Hard to find a team that plays 4-4-2. But even in them terms, if you said Giggs, Scholes, Keane, Beckham in a 4 across the midfield, you would still say that Keane was the 6, you know, Scholes was the 8, and maybe further forward, Cantona was what the modern day sort of number 10 was, wasn't it? Playing in the hole behind the striker. So he must realise, or does he not realise what he's actually just said? They're not just midfielders, they all do different jobs. You know, Roy Keane was box to box. That is a crazy comment. I didn't even know he'd said that, to be honest. So
that's just throwing Kev out, people. Yeah. Kev's devastated now.
He chats rubbish, because Bruno obviously plays as a 10, and I think it's getting to the point with Bruno. Sometimes I think he's a little bit too far forward, because it leaves such a gap in our midfield. And then he plays with a pivot where, to be fair, one goes, one stays, and I don't think it really works the way that we.
I do feel like that, Beth. You said it. You nailed it there. I think he gives a lot of them, the flair players, a lot too much of a free role. He does. He gives them too much of their own thing.
Can't pass the ball in the midfield.
Ronaldo,
they lose possession so easily.
Yeah, Ronaldo does his thing. We know what he's going to do. We know the stats on him pressing and how he doesn't press the ball. So we've lost that up front. So you have to adapt your style to make it work with Ronaldo. There has to be a different way, but I'll bring Ricky in on this one. Ricky will love this one, actually. It's like we don't have crosses of the ball. So we're taking away the aerial threat of a Cavani or Ronaldo because of the way we play, because we don't cross the ball. It's simple as. I don't see us ever putting enough crosses in to even trouble a defender or give a defender something else to think about. We're always playing in front. It's very easy to defend against Manchester United until we play direct, or Bruno does a Bruno and changes the game. And that's what we're waiting for again.
It's funny you say that. No, sorry. So continue. No, I was just going to say, but it's funny you mentioned the crossing thing, because I remember the Newcastle game where there weren't enough crosses coming in off the left, and there was a point where you actually see Ronaldo go in to Shaw, like get them in almost, right?
Yeah.
And then right after that, you saw Shaw try a couple of crosses, and you're like, you know, you'd want that to be coming from the manager, right? And I get, you know, in-game things are adjusted, and players will, you know, talk about these things and try to change things, but that is something where it's like, I don't see, you know, I almost don't see the vision there. Like I talked about earlier in the presser, where, you know, you look at our build-up shape, right? Because formations at the end of the day are, you know, you can start in a 4-2-3-1, but you're never in that shape during the game. You're in different shapes when you're defending and attacking. And our build-up shape, we do this 3-1-6 thing, and it doesn't make any sense to me. And I've never, like, you know, I've always looked for people to try and explain it to me to make sense of it. But we'll have like the two defenders, one of the holding midfielders will drop in next to the defenders. There'll be a one above them, and then it's like the 6 of like the wing backs, the wingers, Bruno, and the striker. And it's like there was almost no link between that one midfielder who will just get swarmed. And we literally saw it in the Young Boys game. And that's why we were doing that long ball shit in the first 25 minutes that was pissing everybody else, right? Because what would happen is Fred or Maguire would have the ball. They'd play it into Donny because he was like the unlucky one guy. And Donny is just surrounded by like 2 or 3 midfielders and he has nothing to do. Just to play it back to Lindelof. Lindelof's like, well, I ain't got no passing options. And he just lobs the ball forward. And it's like, how is nobody going, guys, okay, stop this 3-1-6 rubbish. Let's bring, maybe 2 into the midfield. One of the fullbacks tucked in as well. You know, there's different shapes and different things you can do, but it's like, we don't try or experiment with any of these things. And that is what frustrates me personally, right? You know, I get the whole, you know, people are frustrated about philosophy tactics thing, and that's frustrating as well. The lack of a philosophy, you know, frustrated me. You know, there are tactics. It's just like the tactics aren't effective, and there's no significant adjustment to the tactics. Like, you look at the top managers who have these philosophies, Pep, Tuchel, whatever. They all have their philosophies, but tactically things change year to year, team to team. One, Ollie doesn't seem to really have this overarching philosophy, and 2, like the tactics that, you know, we see, things change, but there's never significant improvement where our football's taken to a new level where we feel unbeatable. Like, I always see people say, oh, what happened? Like, why don't we ever dominate games for like a full, 80 minutes or so? You watch some of the teams in Europe last night, obviously, yeah, Man City had a couple areas where, they concede, or they'd have a couple minute spells where they're not in control. For the most part, they're in control. Liverpool in the first half, obviously they conceded the 2 late goals, right? And these things happen in football. That's just football. For the most part, they dominated that first half. They looked like they should have been way ahead, right? And it doesn't feel like we do that enough for Man United, and 2, for how good of a squad we have now. And that's where people get frustrated. And I understand that completely.
Yeah, I mean, people are going to start questioning him this week now, Beth. After that Wan-Bissaka red card, it's obvious now he's going to miss near enough 3 more games of the group stages, nearly all. It could be done and dusted by the time Wan-Bissaka gets back in Europe. So he's going to get questions. And I think it came up in the press conference about Dalot coming in as well, Beth. Does he give him more game time to get him ready for the Champions League now? Because you can't just play out Wan-Bissaka because he's suspended for Europe and then go, all right, Dalot, you jump straight in now for the Champions League, having played no game and not got used to playing alongside defenders. These questions are going to come now, Beth. I mean, would you bring Dalot in now for a few games, Cup and Premier League, rest out Wan-Bissaka, knowing how important each of these Champions League games is going to be now? You can't be bringing someone in cold, surely?
Yeah, I would bring Dalot in, to be fair. My reasoning isn't just because of the red card. My reasoning is because I think he's been poor to the start of the season. That's just my personal opinion. I think his touch has been bad, and that's why he got sent off. I think offensively he's not been great, and I still think positionally he's not great either. He has a great tackle, and he saves us some games through, for example, when he cleared it off the line, and he's such a good defensive right back. But it's like with the Young Boys game. I mean, I understood why he didn't start Dalot because he'd already changed Lindelof in the defence. You don't want to change the defence too much.
That was criminal on its own.
It would have been nice to see Dalot in a game where you can afford to have a fullback that is a little bit more attacking, because they weren't the greatest quality of team, even though they did end up beating us. But I think you've got to bring Dalot in. I think he deserves to come in. I don't think he was pulling up trees, but he didn't do badly considering the role he had to play when he came on against Young Boys. And I think I've always seen something in Dalot. I think he is good at going forward. It's defensive duties that he's always kind of had to work on. But like you said, if we're going to be relying on him as our right back in the Champions League, he needs some experience. And there's nothing wrong with dropping Wan-Bissaka and saying, look, you have been quite poor to start the season. You do need to up your game. And at the end of the day, you got a red card because of your first touch that you still need to work on. So Dalot is going to come in now, and Dalot proves to us what you've got. He could either come in, do really well, give Wan-Bissaka some competition. We also what happened when Tellers came in and Shaw got some competition. He upped his game, and that could work really well for Wan-Bissaka. Or Dalot comes in and you realise, oh, he's not quite ready yet. He's not quite what we want. And Wan-Bissaka comes back in after his ban's over. It literally just depends. But to keep Dalot on the bench and not even give him a chance, how do you really expect him to have any competition or any chance in this team. And when an opportunity opens up, I do feel like you should give that player a chance. And I think Dalot should come in, should get his game time up. And you can't expect everything from him straight away because he's not played for us in so long and he's not got the chemistry with the rest of the players. But I'd love to see him and Sancho linking up on that right-hand side. I'd like to see him and Greenwood linking up on that right-hand side. And it'd be nice to see a right-back that's actually going to get crosses into the box and he's going to drive forward. So I would start him personally. I really, really would, because he needs to get used to the team anyway.
Yeah, Levin, were you just going to touch on something then, mate?
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, when I watch Wan-Bissaka, the issue is cause I really like Wan-Bissaka personally. I see a player in him. I think what he offers defensively is almost unmatched when you look at top right backs in the Premier League. The problem is that, like, it's not even like he doesn't have the ability to do a lot of things going forward. It's that he doesn't have that sort of natural instinct to go and do it, right? There's times where maybe he takes a bit too long because he's thinking. And sometimes that is the difference against like a low block, for example, right? Where, you know, if he gets the ball out wide, he takes a couple touches, then he decides to cross it. At that time, the defense is already adjusted, right? And so there's no point now. Whereas when you have someone who maybe is more naturally inclined to do those attacking things, they put in a first-time cross, defense caught off guard, Ronaldo back post header. That, like, it's these small differences. And you look at the first chance in the second half of Newcastle, where Wan-Bissaka did actually get forward, right? Right there, you know, he showed he can do it. He put in a brilliant cross. He had some, you know, direct intent. It's just like he can't do it or it's beyond him. But like, that's something that to me needs to be coached. The coach has got to be drilling into him. Look, Aaron, you're one-on-one out wide. That left back's a bum, man. Take him on. Do you know what I mean? But he doesn't have that natural instinct, and it doesn't seem like anybody's telling him or like really beating down on him to do it. And it's funny because he's on the side where the coaches are. So you'd think that they're screaming at him to do it. Like, there were so many times where I literally see him one-on-one. And I'm like, bro, you're pretty quick at him. Knock it past him and just be aggressive, attacking. Doesn't. Yeah, I mean, and I like him so much, and that's why it frustrates me. Like, but you know what I mean? So that's why, like, for people who maybe are giving up on Wan-Bissaka, like, I'd say you shouldn't. It's there, but once again, it comes down to coaching. The coaches need to be getting him to do that. And so hopefully we see that. But again, I almost agree where Dalot probably should be given time if he's going to be playing in those Champions League games, which will be big games and won't be easy games.
They are now. They are now. I mean, Kev, I'm going to come to you with a couple of points. I don't want to condemn Ollie again and bring up coaching again, but it just falls into it every single time, mate, because I'm looking at Chilwell with Tuchel, doesn't get a game now, sat on the bench. Doesn't matter if you came in, if you was England's right back. This is my coaching system. This guy's playing well, he stays in the team. And then you look at a Trent Alexander-Arnold, not great at defending, but Jurgen Klopp says, I'll sacrifice that for what he gives me going forward because this is how I want to play. I don't know how Ollie wants to play. I don't know if he's trying to make a player again out of Wan-Bissaka, but there's an example, Kev, of actually going with and giving another player who you might have thought wasn't going to get game time or wasn't flavour of the month, and you didn't know he was as good as he was. But if you don't see him given chances, then you don't know. And it can't all be what happens on the training ground, Kev. He may have worked hard. He may have just won that sprint race. Like Ollie said one time, it's like, he did so well in the five-a-side. He scored more goals than anyone. Don't give a shit, Ollie. I really don't. All I care about is what happens on the pitch. And to be honest, I'm looking at what Tuchel and Klopp do there with their players. You know what? Even Pep, to a certain degree, it's ruthless. It gets results, mate. We've said he needs to learn, but for you, on Dalot and on that, in terms of how the other managers deal with it, he's got to learn from that. And Dalot's got to come in surely now to let him work with Varane and Maguire. Do you know what I mean? Give him a chance.
I would look at other managers, and I think that they would have that in mind, or other managers in a similar situation. And the question I find myself asking myself now is he big enough to make a decision and a call like that? And I am doubting myself. I'm thinking, no, I don't think he will, but he should do. And it comes down to this thing again. If he wants to save his job, wants to progress, in the Champions League, you have to be forward thinking now and look at this and go, well, he's suspended for them games, so I bring Dalot in. And I know we'll look at this. Wan-Bissaka defensively, nobody gets past him. He's absolutely fantastic. There's a question mark about him going forward. I remember being at the Leeds game this season, And it's only at games sometimes that you sort of realise, and I couldn't believe how very little he actually crossed the halfway line. But defensively, don't get me wrong, we won the game, happy as Larry. We win the game. Very rarely did he get forward. And he reminds me a little bit of Antonio Valencia in the sense that when he does get into them positions where you think, take him on, whip it in first time, he'll cut back and the moment's gone and you're like, come on, just whip it in, do something. But at the same time, then you look at Dalot and you would say that his best attribute was actually attacking. He's probably better at getting forward than he is defensively. But I would take that because we are going to have to do without Wan-Bissaka. So you look at Dalot, you think, all right, then he's gets a bit more giddier on the right-hand side. He's going to go further forward. He's going to leave gaps at the back. But we've got Harry Maguire and Varane, and Luke Shaw on the other side. Should be able to shuffle over. They're good enough, I think, Maguire and Varane, as they go along, from what I've seen of them, to be covering that side, if needs be. That they can get over and cover. So, again, I go back to what I said at the start. Has he got the balls to make that call as a manager now? Sit Wan-Bissaka down and say, listen, you got sent off. And really what he should be saying is, it's your fault as well.
Yeah.
I know in a press conference, he's not going to come out and call a player out. I know managers will always do that. And behind closed doors, I'd like to think that he took him to one side and said that one of the big factors that we didn't get the 3 points that night was your recklessness and that stupid challenge that you made. But he's been a great player for us. I'm not slagging him. I'm just saying, it's something that he's looking at. Yeah.
Look, Laurie will
you think these things happen in football. Sorry, Levin.
No, that's fine. I keep going. I was just going to say, there are journalists who say that thing does happen where he does apparently give people bollocking. So hopefully that is the case.
You'd like to think it's true, yeah.
It's one of them, innit? I just feel like the blueprint for success is there around him right now in Chelsea, City and Liverpool. Are we too stubborn to say that we are copying how they work things? I mean, I would say Frank Lampard was more of a legend than Ollie was here. And I don't see any Chelsea fans complaining when the results came in. They were all kicking off when Lampard went. It was harsh. But when them results came in, it changes everything. I'm not saying Ollie should go, by the way. I'm just saying, learn. You've seen what happened. You can see how other managers work. You've had enough time in here now with all the building your own squad. And it is Ollie's team now. There's no doubt about it. It's hard to go in on a legend of a football club, but you can only say what you see. And what we've seen on the pitch is drastically letting everyone down, the fans and you could say the players. Some people will say players are as much to blame, which they are right sometimes. But when you're making them tactical changes, you've got to question it. You really do. Changes, how many would you make for West Ham at weekend, Beth? I mean, we need a reaction. I think that's the word on everyone's lips right now. We want to see what happens, how the players come out after that young boys performance. Is there much you would change up?
Well, it depends. Is Mctominay fit?
I think he said in his conference, Levin will back me up, he said he needs to give him a few more sessions before he can actually say. Is that right, Levin? Yeah,
and I think I saw something today where it's like by the end of the month he should be ready to play. Right. So I don't think he'll be ready for something.
That makes it hard then. I'd go with the back four with Dalot right back. I would bring him in straight away. I'd have Varane, Maguire, Shaw. The pivot, I'd have Matic and Pogba. And then I'd play Greenwood on the right because he had a break and I think you can't drop him at the moment. I think he's been so good. Sancho on the left, I think Sancho has to play. And unless he plays badly, I don't want to see him as his first sub again. Give him a little bit of time. I thought he was actually doing quite well in the young boys game. And I think you can see him slowly getting better and better and getting a little bit more comfortable. And I think he needs a bit of confidence and I want to see what he can do. So play Sancho on the left. Bruno is a 10, and then obviously you're going to have to play the one and only Ronaldo up front. And that's how I would set up against West Ham. I mean, you've got Cavani to come on. I think it's time he gets a chance, to be honest. And then probably maybe even Martial off the bench as well over Jesse this time because, I mean, the more Martial's confidence goes down and down, the less we are going to get a tune out of him. And it would be nice to have Martial to come off the bench this season because he's a talented player.
Yes, I mean, Kev, it really doesn't matter who we put out. I'll get who you think should start the game in a second, but it is ultimately, you know what, sometimes after a result like that, you've just got to put in that extra bit just to say, look, you know what, we're not messing around here still. We let the fans down in the week. And if they are behind Ole, you would expect to see something out on that pitch, surely, wouldn't you, mate?
The main thing you say is a reaction. And I'm not comparing Solskjaer to Sir Alex Ferguson, but we had some, dismal results in Europe under Sir Alex Ferguson. And the one main great thing was always, you're feeling down the way we were after Tuesday night, and then you start getting all sort of press releases. And it was Sir Alex Ferguson built, Manchester United on that. It was always that reaction, always looking ahead to the next game. And every single one of them players really should be going out on Sunday and thinking, right, we put Tuesday night behind us, we go out and put in a performance. And this is the fine lines at the minute, right? Because we have Saturday, the return, at Old Trafford and that, the return of Ronaldo, the feel-good factor was absolutely unbelievable. Not felt that between United fans and that for ages. And within the space of 3 days, it's like, the empire's crumbling, Ollie out and all that. Right, well, fair enough, whatever your opinion is, but it's just like, we've not gone out of the Champions League. Yes, it's going to be, we've made it a bit more difficult for ourselves, but positivity-wise, I still think we will go through in that group. So on the grand scheme of things, you look back at that result, we just got to write it off. And we're going to have to do things, the hard way. But can we be successful this season? That's the main question, on everybody's lips. That's the main one.
Are these players going to give us a reaction, Levin? Do you see a possible, I'm not going to say similar sort of scenario and a sort of performance as we got on Tuesday, but do you see West Ham causing us a problem with the likes of Antonio out? Can we actually go to this game and go, you know what, their main threat, the guy who basically put them where they are in the league right now, isn't there? Should we just say, right, all right, if we're going to look at this team and dissect them, like, I disagree that United should be doing that with every single team. We should be looking at ourselves. But if there was a case to say, all right, come on, let's get on the front foot here because they've lost the pace and the power up front. Is this the game to say, do it, or do we need to be very careful here because it could really backfire? Because they have still got some quality there, West Ham. Proved it tonight again, although Antonio did score tonight, but they still did play well tonight.
Yeah, I think we got to go out there and we got to fight. You know what I mean, Kev, those words almost brought tears to my eyes. You know what I mean? Just so passionate. You know what I mean? I'm ready to, lace it up and get on the pitch. And I hope the players will be as well. You know what I mean? I'm going to be there, so hopefully it's not a dry match. That would be frustrating. But look, I'm confident we're going to go and bounce back. The season's not over. We've got a long season ahead. We can't sort of, bow down and lay down our sword now. We just have to keep fighting. That's what we got to do. And I get why people are so frustrated. I've always said, like, I don't like overreacting or anything, but I get why people have gotten to this stage now because it's PTSD. After the way we left the Champions League last season, people are seeing that loss thinking, it's happening again. No. Do you know what I mean? So I get it. Like, I get it. But I'd say, look, listen, you know what I mean? Yeah, I get it, but I'd say, we go again. We got 5 games to get around 10 points. We should do that. Nothing changes now. Yeah, we lost, but nothing should change. We should still go out every game looking to win. And I think we can do that against West Ham.
Yeah, I mean, score prediction, Levin, you there, mate? Are you going to be bouncing there? Are we getting the win?
Man. I think this man
go on,
cheeky.
get in there.
I don't know. Why can't we beat them 5-0? Why can't...
Okay, calm down.
Look, no, but really, though, I say this every match and nobody gives me an answer. Why can't we beat West Ham 5-0?
I swear every game me and Levin are here like 3-0, 4-0.
Every game and it's never gone correct. It's never gone right. Look, realistically speaking, I'll say 3-1.
You always say 3-1.
No, I say 5-0. I say 5-0 and I say 5. These are mine. I say 5-0 and 3-0. Those are my 2 go-tos. But go 3-1.
Sheet, Beth. We're getting a clean sheet.
Nah, I'm going to go for 2-1, you know.
Safe.
I think it's going to... I've been going for like 3-0, 4-1s like recently. And it's been like kind of coming back to me. I mean, since I've been saying it's a bigger scoreline, it's just been getting lower and lower. So I'm going to go with 2-1. I think West Ham are a tough team, especially because I think we're away, aren't we, as well? Yeah, we are away. And even though they've got Antonio out, they've got a solid defence, they've got some good players, and they've been scoring some goals. So, I mean, I think they could stick one past us, but I think we'll win. I do think we'll win.
One thing they have got better than us, Kev, is a midfield. I'll say that.
Even if they play Noble.
Oh, don't, mate. Oh, no. I still got horrible nightmares from that. I was at the Olympic Stadium when Noble was tearing us apart in midfield, mate. I was frothing at the mouth. I was fuming. I couldn't believe it. That man, at the age he was running rings round us. It was embarrassing. We're not going to get a result like that again, are we, Kev? Are you confident, mate?
Do you know what I am? I stand by my statement before, and I say the players will have been in training this week. We see all the social media, the tweets, Instagram, and all that shit. Whatever they put out, they will be hurting. They will be hurting after that result because it was embarrassing. And at the end of the day, we're Manchester United, and you just can't settle for that. The only way to put this right is to put in a convincing performance on Sunday. And I think the 3 points in that it's vital. We have to stay in this race this season. There is no dropping off until the big games come up against the so-called Big Six. This is where this league is going to be shaken up because that's where, points are going to be lost. So, and changes to the team, Lindelof straight out. In hindsight, if Varane's fit, you either leave him out the team, totally don't let him travel. You don't bring him and put him on the bench. I'm a firm believer in just get the job done and then bring players off, make the changes. Don't overthink things in that department. So Varane walks in. I would keep Sancho in, like you said. Ronaldo picks himself, Bruno. And Greenwood would be the main one. Still cannot believe he didn't get on the pitch the other night. The form he's in, the pace of him. So he comes back in for me. And let's not forget about Messi Lingard. He knows this stadium well. He knows that team.
Yeah. He's definitely
on that one, mate. Let's hope we don't get another Messi Lingard performance like he did against Young Boys, because then the writers would have a field day with that one. Can you imagine that happened the game on? Oh, dear God. I can't believe none of these has picked on the fact that we've only managed to score one goal in every away game this season so far. I'm seeing these 3s and 4s come out. I'm like, confidence tonight, people. I'm going to go with that vibe myself. But just quickly on what you said then, Kev, mate. Yeah, the fact that he left Varane out, honestly, that was ridiculous in my opinion. Champions League night, first night, and you're leaving the World Cup winner, who is a proven Champions League winner.
Well, do you know what, Adam? Do you know what it's a bit like? Remember last season? Was it what was it now? Was it the Leipzig game? And on the eve of that, was it Raiola come out about the comments about Pogba, that he wants to leave the club and this and that? So Solskjaer leaves him out of the team, which was fair enough. A lot of United fans at the time would have been like, right, well, fair enough, he don't get anywhere near that, but puts him on the bench. And then when we're getting beaten, we're in trouble, brings him on at half time. So it's like, it's contradicting yourself. You make a point and stand by it and say, you are nowhere near this team. That agent has come out and said that on the eve of a massive game, which we eventually went out and got knocked out. It's you go by these decisions. That's why I was saying about Varane as well. It's like, if he's fit enough, you play him. If you want to bring him off at half time, we're in great position, fair enough. But he has to bring him on at half time because we're struggling at that stage and he wants to change it up. So
that was probably the most embarrassing bit for me, to be honest. It really was. I was just like, oh God, well, I can't really say that you haven't got balls in that side of things, Ollie. I really can't. Brave man. But guys, we're well over an hour. It has flown by. Plenty to talk about as always. I can't believe it's Friday tomorrow and we are literally on the eve of the game. So it is quite right. We finished with the West Ham and now we look ahead to that. But for now, guys, cheers for coming in. All super chats, everyone in the chat just want to say thanks to Kev for coming on. Cheers, mate.
Thank you very much. And I think it went a bit unnoticed, but let's give Beth's cat some respect as well. I think she was trying to give, or the cat, is it he or she, was trying to get involved.
He was trying to get in on the analysis.
Yeah.
Talking about Solskjaer, the cat pipes up.
It was like, on Olina.
Yeah, that's it. And thanks, Beth, because I know you're a bit under the weather still as well. So cheers for coming on and battling through.
Always here. Pleasure.
And I'm sure a good United win would make you feel 20 times better and fresh for Monday. But Levin, as always, mate, the man in the crib with the piano. Cheers for coming on, mate.
Should I play something tonight?
Yeah, you're going to have to one night, mate. You might as well see us out.
You know what?
Might as well have a bit of a house party in that.
You know what, guys? I'm inviting everyone from the United stand over. Anytime, just come over. We can have a good time. You know what I mean?
If we win the league, it's a party at Levin's. That's what's happening, guys.
100%.
Well, thanks for tuning in, everybody. We will be back, as always, tomorrow with more content for you guys. And let's hope the weekend goes well, eh? We need it. Thanks for watching, people. Have a good evening, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Champions League